Hello and welcome. You are now listening to and watching the Spark Your Creative podcast. And I am very excited to have you join me today. I have a good friend of mine that's here, a fellow artist, Wendy Sittner, who I invited to talk with us today because we we both share a love of nature and the environment and of recycling and upcycling. And so during this time of our nation's history, when we're recording this, we are dealing with COVID-19, and it presents an opportunity for many of us to use our creative gifts for a variety of different issues. And so today we are talking about using our creativity for everyday DIY projects at home, and with an emphasis on recycling. And I think you'll find this to be a very exciting and interesting topic. Um, because whether we're dealing with staying at home or self-quarantine, we can take the opportunity to enhance our surroundings at any time using our creative gifts. Or if you don't consider yourself an artist or creative per se, there's a lot of different activities and things that you can do. And Wendy has started Wendy Sittner Home, her own new brand that she is sharing, how she's taking everyday objects in her house and enhancing them and upcycling them to become very creative works of art in some ways. And so I've been following her for quite some time as an artist, and have started following her with her new brand. And I thought it was just a unique topic, something to remind people about, that you can be creative in a variety of different settings, and particularly at home. So let me introduce you to her. I'm just going to read her bio so I don't get it messed up. Wendy is a clinical social worker and visual artist based in the Washington, D.C. metro region. As a first-time home buyer, she has extended her creativity to include interior decorating. With Wendy Sittner Home, she shares with the world her home filled with magical color and mysterious curiosities. I love that. She showcases found objects of life and death that range from happy, glittery DIY projects to mummified birds and Victorian morning art. One of Wendy's followers commented that her home is the, quote, kind of home you walk out of feeling so much better just from being in, unquote. And haven't had the chance to do that yet, but I am very excited to have you on the podcast and to videotape you and see some of the things that you have at home. So welcome to Spark Your Creative. How you doing today?
Good. How are you? Thank you for reaching out to me to ask me to be on here. My Wendy Sittner Home Instagram account is pretty new, so I appreciate you giving me the recognition for that so that I can tell more people about it and have a chance to talk about it.
Well, I'm excited because I think it's such a great brand. But one of the things that I thought that was so interesting a while ago, and I've been wanting to have you on the show, I kind of went on hiatus for a while and decided, I was trying to decide if I wanted to continue with the podcast. And I said, yeah, I think I do. But I think I want to try some different things, like a video portion and a podcast portion. And so you were one of the lucky people that got that. So, so anyway, but I had been following you for a while, and I started noticing once you had bought your new place, and congratulations for being a new home buyer, by the way. And you've been actually inspiring me on a lot of things, because I'm kind of in the middle of redoing my place, slowly but surely. COVID kind of slowed me down because I'm a little funny about people coming in the house right now. But there are some things I'm trying to do, and I just love some of the stuff that you're doing, and glad that you're able to show us today and talk and share with us today about that. So let me just start. You know, you've been an artist, and you've been in a lot of very interesting shows, a lot of which have been slanted towards the environment and saving the environment, which I love, and I think we both share that um, in common as artists and as, you know, people in general. What made you start this brand, the Wendy Sittner Home?
Well, so I've been a renter all my life, really. I mean, since I've been living away from my parents, I've always been a renter in this area.
Mm-hmm.
So I eventually bought a home, but I had thought I wouldn't be interested in home improvement projects. I just felt like there's other things I like to spend my weekends doing, and I don't want to feel committed to like redoing tile and things like this because I figured that I wouldn't be able to afford a home that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of repairs. But then now that I have my own place, I have a lot of pride in it, and I'm really invested in making it look nice and taking care of it in a way that I wasn't when I was renting. So now I just kind of organically found myself doing a lot of decorating, not so much home improvement, like difficult stuff that involves like carpentry or tile work or something like that. But there's so many ways around that now, like with wallpaper and things that look like maybe you're installing a wood counter, but you're not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I've found like I've gotten really into the DIY stuff just because I'm interested in like improving my home, but making it mostly like something that represents me and my personality. But it's interesting that you said that you haven't had people over recently because of COVID-19. But I'm not very sociable. I'm not someone who entertains. So you maybe wouldn't expect that I would put so much effort into, you know, my place that most people wouldn't normally see. But now with social media, the whole world can see it, and I never have to have a single person in my home.
I
So
know, isn't that something? Yeah.
even with COVID-19, it's not like my efforts aren't being recognized, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting statement. And we both talked about the whole introvert thing and how, you know, a lot of ways this is sort of, you know, kind of like our fantasy, you know, just to be to ourselves and just sort of communicate when we need to. Um, okay, so how would you say that the whole COVID-19 influenced you to upcycle projects for your home? You know, you talked about, you know, trying to save money and sort of dealing with, you know, in that first year, at least for me, when I first bought my place, you know, I stayed broke, you know, just trying to, you know, because you put all your resources to get this place. And then, you know, it takes a while before you get to the point where you can do a lot of different things with it. And I know that's sort of what led you into that. But how would you say, you know, the whole COVID-19 situation affected you as far as, you know, your whole efforts to continue what you're doing with the
Mhm.
upcycling and stuff?
So there's a lot of reasons that COVID-19 has really set the stage for me to get really active in the whole DIY thing and repurposing and upcycling because, well, for one, I have a lot of time on my hands. So I'm not necessarily doing things that I haven't done before. I just have more time to do it. And then also, I know a lot of people are struggling financially right now,
Hmm.
and purposing and upcycling is a great way to save money because even if you're creating something entirely new, you don't have to create it with new materials. So you don't have to invest in the new materials. And then as far as like going to the store to buy supplies, that's not encouraged right now. So just using what you have already on hand around your home really reduces your exposure to other people. And then also, one of the selfish reasons I would say that I get into DIY is because I'm really impatient in general in all areas of my life, and that's something I'm working on. But so when I order things online and I have to wait for them to arrive, like whether it's the actual product that I want in the end, or if it's just the materials to create something, I don't like to wait for the supplies to come. And now while I'm home all day with COVID, like during the pandemic, I am more impatient than usual because I don't have as many things to distract me. So I find myself like looking up the product I ordered online to see how many more days till it gets here. But if you just get creative and look around your house, you don't have to play that waiting game. You can just get right to it, especially while the inspiration strikes. Because my other concern is if I feel inspired to do something and then I order the supplies, by the time they get here, I might not be motivated to do it anymore,
That's right. That's right. Well, I think one of the things that the beauty in some ways of COVID-19 is that we're at home. Many of us are at home, so we're seeing things that need to be done, and I think one of the things that's really interesting about what you do is really giving people an opportunity to really rethink how they want to enhance their homes, because you're there all the time. When we're in and out, like the old normal or whatever you want to call that. We may notice things every now and then. Oh, I need to get that fixed, or I need to do something with that. Now you're home every day and you're like, oh gosh, that needs to be done. And what can I do? What can we do? And we automatically go to, oh, let's reorder something. Let's get rid of this and reorder something. A lot of us are doing pandemic buying, me included. But I think it would be good to talk about this because, a lot of times there's some things that you can do. And also, I think it's a great opportunity for kids, because if you have children around in the home, and they're bored, and a lot of them are out of school, or, they're on a different kind of cycle because they're, studying from home. They can be great ideals for creativity that brings families together. So let's talk about some of your current projects. You have a few things that you and I, well, some things I've observed from your Instagram feed. You did a interesting mural on your balcony, right?
Yeah, it was on the ceiling of my balcony. And it was part of an international mural festival where nonprofit organizations, including Pangea Seed Foundation, they asked artists to stay at home and use only materials that they already had to create a mural in their space for Earth Day. And so in addition to being impatient, I'm also a commitment phobe, and I have trouble committing to things in all areas of my life. But so I wasn't sure I wanted to commit to a mural in my condo, in my unit, because it's so much effort, and then how long would it be there? So I decided to use chalk, like artist grade chalk, and I did a mural on the ceiling of my balcony with that, knowing that it would be impermanent. And then in honor of Earth Day, I did flowers, which I can show you in a few minutes. But I had been in a workshop recently, an art workshop that was through Zoom. And someone mentioned how trees are like the lungs of the earth and how they breathe the same air that we breathe. And it made me think about like how trees are harmed by breathing toxic air. That was sort of the point this person was making. And so I was thinking how if they're breathing the same toxic air that we breathe and we're also harmed by the toxic air, it's sort of relevant to COVID-19 right now because it's a respiratory illness passed through the air. And we're getting sick from that too. So I made this mural that has flowers on the wall and they're in the direction, so the roots of the flowers start sort of touching where the building meets the ceiling, where the wall meets the ceiling, and then they reach out towards the horizon across, like in the direction of the horizon across the ceiling. So my idea was that there's like new species of flowers on the horizon because a lot of the flowers in the mural are not flowers you would recognize recognize because they're not, like botanically correct or accurate or whatever. They're just flowers I invented. So I like the idea that while we're, going through this phase of sickness, that there could be some regeneration with new species growing in the future. The other thing that's interesting about this mural is that I didn't ask the homeowners association for permission to do it, and I know they're really strict about what you can do on the balcony because it's a semi-public space where other neighbors can see it and people outside could look up. So I just did it figuring I would ask for forgiveness later. Well, it took about a week and a half before the management office left. They sent me an email. Then within an hour of that, they left me a voicemail, and I didn't get either because only like an hour or two had passed. And then I was coming into the building and they stopped me in the hallway and they were like, we saw the art, we were in the parking lot, and there's a procedure where you have to run it by the covenants committee. So I had to write a letter to the covenants committee, and I attached photos so that they would see it was like an artistic mural and not like scribble with
or graffiti. Yeah.
Sidewalk chalk. And then I had to give a presentation to the committee to make this plea to not have to take it down like sooner than it would come down on its own in the weather. But then, so what's so great is, we started this Zoom meeting, and in the beginning, the committee introduced themselves to me and they were like, so tell us about this beautiful artwork you did. So I was like, well, that's a good sign. Maybe they're on board with this, And then they ended the meeting by inviting me to be on the building and grounds committee to make So I was like, yeah, serves you right, building manager, for making me freak out about all this. And in the end, it was really well received.
Well, good.
That too now.
Okay.
So I'm walking out onto my balcony, which is, I'm just letting you know that there's a lot of traffic below my balcony, so it'll get loud potentially.
Oh, wow.
All right, hold on a second.
And for those of you that are listening on the podcast, we're actually viewing the work that Wendy did outside on her balcony, and we'll have this as a video that you can see on the Facebook, the Spark Your Creative Facebook, and also eventually our YouTube page. Oh, that is so gorgeous, Wendy. I know I saw some pictures of it, but I didn't get a chance to see all of it in the way that you're showing it. And this really looks like it's like a garden of flowers that she did, and like a beautiful sky. Now, see, I didn't even realize that the sky was actually kind of part of it. I remember you kind of working on the flowers, and it's just gorgeous. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so you can see how the base of the flowers sort of starts where the building rises up and touches the ceiling, and then they reach out and extend across the ceiling over towards the sky.
Yes.
Right there. So it's sort of symbolic that these flowers that are unrecognizable, are reaching towards the horizon as if there's something better there for the future.
Now, this was, and I guess we can go on that other project next that you were just on. So it's kind of interesting. But when you, this was like a fundraiser, correct? So there was some funds that were being raised as part of this nonprofit effort?
There weren't any funds being raised as far as I know. It was just asking artists to do it voluntarily to raise awareness about Earth Day and then post on social media. But there were over 60 countries that participated, artists from 60, and there were over 800 artists that participated. All people doing it on their own will, just to volunteer their time to raise awareness about Earth Day. And what was I going to say about that? Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of participation. I was going to say a lot of really huge, detailed, elaborate murals also. So it's amazing that people got so motivated and enthusiastic about Earth Day to do this stuff on, with no real reimbursement or compensation.
Yeah. Now, what materials did you use for that? that mural?
For the mural, chalk.
Oh, it's all chalk. Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
So theoretically, it'll come down in the weather, but for one, I sprayed it with a fixative to hold it there a little longer. Now, if it was on a sidewalk, it still wouldn't last that long, but we've had some serious storms so far, and it hasn't budged at all because it's protected under the ceiling like that, you know? And I didn't really anticipate that it was going to be that stuck to the ceiling. I'm happy, but actually, since we've been on doing this podcast interview, I got a pop-up message that's from the Covenants Committee letting me know the decision.
Oh, okay.
So that's some suspense for you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're not getting into that right now.
I think it's okay because they had told me that I would hear the next day, like, about the decision, and it's been at least a week, and since I haven't heard, they must not be that anxious to get me to take it down.
Well, you know, I don't think so. And then where it is too, you know, it's not, you got to look up to see it, but it's not, it's definitely not graffiti, and it's gorgeous.
Right.
It's, I mean,
well, when I made the plea in that letter, I said, like, it's environmentally friendly, it's impermanent. Then I even said, because of the flower design, it's family friendly. I didn't want them to find any reason to feel like offended or, you know, put off by it.
No. I think it looks great, and I've been, you know, again, when I saw that you were doing that, I just thought it was, you know, it was just such a matter of fact, I was like, how'd she find out about it? You know, because you always find out about some interesting projects. You're always involved with stuff that I'm like, I just need to kind of be a part of her flow a little bit so I could find out all these projects that you're doing. Now, the one that I thought was interesting on your Instagram page, you kind of had some artwork on your refrigerator, and I thought, you know, there's a lot that can be said about that. Show me a little bit about what that is and talk a little bit about that.
So this was one of my DIY tips because gallery walls are really popular now as far as like hanging bunches of pictures on your wall in an organized way that they all fit together kind of like a puzzle, but it takes a lot of planning and a lot of time. It can involve a lot of extra holes in the wall that you really don't want there. So I thought that maybe a gallery wall on the refrigerator is a good place to start because you can practice like laying out pictures like that so that they look organized and not completely or haphazard. So I can show you that now.
Okay.
So this is the refrigerator gallery wall. So some of the tips I have for making it look less haphazard and disorganized are if you line up all the edges on all four sides. So you can see that I have so I've put up there things like postcards, photos, things I've torn out from magazines. And then if you hang them up there so that all four edges are lined up the way you have them hanging, then they don't look so randomly placed around the refrigerator. And then also I used the same magnets for most of the things I posted up there. So that sort of unifies it. And then so the magnets I used actually are magnets that have alligator clips on them that holds the things there. And then the good thing about the magnets also in the refrigerator is that you can rearrange your gallery wall as much as you need to. And when you do it on an actual wall and not a refrigerator, that's when you end up leaving a lot of holes if you need to reorganize it over and over. But then also another tip is that with children's art, because I know that ends up on the refrigerator a lot, and children's art can look really crumpled sometimes if it comes home in a backpack or it's just been laying in, you know, a drawer for a long time. This is a piece of artwork by my niece who drew a peacock, and it was on regular 8.5 by 11 printer paper, and I trimmed it down because if you trim off the edges, a lot of times children draw right in the middle of the page, and then they're all crumpled and there's all this extra white space or whatever color the paper is. So if you trim off the edges, then it makes the paper cleaner, the edges cleaner, and it also draws attention to the artwork and not all this empty space around it. So it looks more intentional that you have it up there and you're displaying it.
I think that that's a really cool thing to show because, you know, a lot of people just throw all kinds of stuff on the refrigerator, you know, but to have it nice and neat and to consider it a place for a gallery wall, additional space for a gallery wall, I think it's kind of interesting and I think it's cool. And, you know, you can do everything from the postcards to, you know, maybe print art and the children's art, and to be able to kind of create its own little thing and to add some character to your kitchen, you know. I think it's wonderful, as well as, you know, documents, you know, such little certificates that your kids get or little things that you have. I was thinking about it because I do mostly work very small, my own art. And so I was like, you know, that might be kind of cool to do like some postcard art that you could just put on the refrigerator and it's its own little gallery, you know,
Right.
that just sort of, you know, it's separate, you know, and it kind of solves some of the problems that some people say, well, I don't have another place to, I couldn't possibly put any more art here. You know, you could use it kind of as a small works gallery.
Right.
So I think that looks absolutely awesome. And I just thought it was a cool way that you were explaining it on your Instagram page, because I was like, wow, you know, that's really an interesting way of looking at it.
Well, also, I didn't mention this on Instagram, but it's also another affordable DIY project, because when you do an actual gallery wall on the wall of your home, a lot of times that involves frames, and each frame gets expensive. But then, like you were saying, small postcard art tends to be more affordable, or even more affordable to create on your own than if you do larger scale that might hang on a wall.
Okay. Now, the project I was really interested in seeing in person, if you're able to show me, is the cat house. And that's what really...
I thought you might bring that up, but that's actually in my bedroom with the cat right now.
Okay. So, okay. Well, show me what else you have.
Yeah.
That would be good. I wouldn't want to disturb
Building another cat house. But this, you know, well, I can explain it even if I don't show it.
That would be good.
So the litter box, I live in a small space. My condo is 1 bedroom, and it's always hard to find a place for the litter box. In any home, really, it never looks nice anywhere. But some homes have better hiding spots than others, and I don't really have a hiding spot built into my home as part of the architecture. So I took an old entertainment unit. It's like a Shelton, like an entertainment unit. It used to have my TV on top of it, and it has a door that has an open space, and then next to that it has another door with shelves behind it.
Yeah.
And actually, the first door did have shelves that I removed in order to do this, but basically if you cut a hole in the side of the entertainment center, that gives a space for the cat to enter, and then you put the litter box behind one of the doors. Okay. And with my sort of like got a little fancy with it, made a curtain that she can walk through, and I added like old jewelry to sort of.
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
But yeah, so mine actually, the entertainment unit, because it's from IKEA, I think, and it's a hand-me-down from a roommate, and it's really not something to be that proud of. It has like an opening in the back where she can get in if she wants to, and she can also walk through that curtain, so I didn't have to do any cutting out of holes. So sometimes units had things like that in the back where there's a removable back, or there's just space, and you don't have to do any kind of sawing or anything. But an option is to saw through the side just for the cat to get in there, and then tuck the litter box away in there. So to people who don't know what it is, it just looks like a regular piece of furniture.
It was very well done. So, and I will probably share the photo or regram it for people to see.
Yeah,
No, I
okay.
regrammed it a while ago, but because I'm a cat owner, I'm a proud cat mama.
Mhm.
I was like, oh wow, if I had known this like a year or 2 years ago, I would have done something similar, and I may still do it. I have a 2-bedroom condo, and I actually used my master bedroom as my office slash studio space, and the smaller room as my bedroom. So there's a walk-in closet. And so, because I've never been like a lot of women with like clothes and clothes and clothes, I took all the stuff out of that and made that the room for her litter box. But I still want to do it. I still
Right.
want to do that because I just think it was such a cool thing. So um, those of you that are listening, if you follow my feed at Spark Your Creative, on Instagram, or follow me on Facebook, I will, show the picture somewhere along the way here so you can see what Wendy did. She did such a great job with that. And, we cat mamas got to stick together, you know what I'm saying? And you do
It's
such a great
also,
job with it.
it's also on my Wendy Sittner Home Instagram.
Yes, and you please, we'll definitely would like for you to check that out. Do you have any other projects you can show us?
Well, one I think you were interested in was the vase that I upcycled.
Yes, yes, yes. I forgot about it because I was looking at my notes and I was like, I know there was a third thing, but yes.
So there are a couple of tips I have about upcycling.
Mhm.
And so sort of the steps I go through are, what do I need it to do? Like, what function do I need it to serve? And in this case, I needed a vase for my flowers. I had already picked the flowers, and they're wild flowers. They're flowers, actually, I don't even know if they're wildflowers. They're weeds, probably, if there's any difference. There's probably a difference between wildflowers and weeds. But so anyway, nobody else is interested in these flowers. I just picked them up from the side of the road and stuff. But by the nature of them, they're really small. They don't have these like tall, sturdy stems. So I needed a small container for them that wasn't tall because the stems weren't going to reach that far down. So this is the second step. The first step is, what do you need it to do? And I needed something to hold my flowers so I could display them. And then the second thing is, like, what are the qualities you want in the item you're creating? So I needed something that was pretty short because the stems aren't long enough to, stick out from a taller vase. And I needed something that had a pretty wide opening in relation to how short it was, because these flowers have so many leaves and like foliage on them below the actual flower. So
Okay.
those qualities I needed. And then when I came home with this handful of flowers, I had nowhere to put them. Like, I came home and realized I didn't have a vase. So I grabbed an old vitamin bottle, just a plastic bottle that had vitamins in it. And
Mm-hmm.
I stuck them in that, and I kept them in that for a while. And just to keep the flowers alive and not really concerned about the aesthetics of it. But I was like, this isn't a bad idea. I should just do something to make the bottle look nicer. And I was waiting for the, inspiration to strike. And I saw this video by a fashion designer, Rachel Burke, and she creates these dresses out of metallic fringe that's like tinsel almost, that you would hang on a Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm.
And the dresses are not something you would wear every day. They, you shake and they reflect light, and they sort of shake everywhere. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
But they reflect a lot of light. They're really sparkly. They give this magical vibe. So she has these videos that her dresses appear in, but the videos really create a feeling. So there was a video I saw that seemed really magical. There was a lot of glitter, a lot of sparkle, and I was really inspired by the colors in the video, because there's pink and coral and like a light blue, and there's a lot of glitter throughout the video.
Oh
So
wow.
that I ended up doing with the vase is painting it those three colors and adding glitter, and then a couple other embellishments that I'll show you. But the third step when I'm thinking about how to upcycle something is the whole, like, what do I need it to do? What characteristics do I need it to have? And then what feeling do I want it to give? So I wanted this vase to give a sense of wonder so that people would be drawn to it to actually notice the flowers, So I'll show you that now.
Okay.
So this is the vase. You can see it's the colors I talked about, like the coral, the pink, and the blue. And then I added a lot of glitter to it. But it's
Yeah.
also really petite. I mean, it's from a women's one-a-day vitamin bottle. So
Oh, is it that small? I mean, because when I look at it
yeah,
from the video, it looks a little larger. But then a lot of these vitamin bottles are getting larger too.
well, that's the thing. So I
Yeah.
didn't buy like a huge quantity. It's just the standard bottle size that maybe has like 30 in there or 50 or something. But you can see here is a salt and pepper shaker. And
Yeah,
that,
it gives you a sense of the size. Yeah.
yeah. And
Wow.
so also I tied a ribbon on there and added an old piece of jewelry, which is also something that comes in handy a lot because the jewelry I use for a lot of situations. Like the other day, so I'll use old jewelry not only for decoration like that, but also it can be functional sometimes because if you need a clasp or a hook or something to hang something, but you don't want it to be like a standard nail, you want it to be something, more pretty to look at, I guess. The other day I had a handheld mirror that I wanted to display on the wall and I didn't know how to do it. I've been thinking about it for a long time. And then it occurred to me to attach a piece of jewelry to it that was sort of a hook, a clasp, and then I hung it from a chain and then hung it from a hook that I had screwed into the wall. So now it didn't sort of cheapen the look of the handheld mirror because it's another piece of jewelry attached to it. But the jewelry, a lot of times there are parts of jewelry that can be handy in situations like that, but they still look nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think jewelry and then also things like ribbons or
Mm-hmm.
just things that you get from other things. I just got this. I've been, like I said, I've been pandemic or ordering, spending a lot of stuff on everything from candles to things that you want to help comfort you in your home. And when I saw the ribbon, it reminded me of this ribbon. Those of you that are on the podcast, I just have this little um, what is this material? I can't think of what the name of it right now. But anyway, I have this little ribbon that I got from a candle I ordered, and I was like, wow, in the old days, I would just toss it, like I'm not going to use it, toss it. But when you collect different things, and when you start thinking from a creative point of view, everything can have a purpose and a function. And so when I saw your vase, I was like, wow, I have a couple of candle holders that I just finished using, and they could be used for something, even if you put plants or something in there just to dress it up, which I think those are the kinds of things that people may have around their house. Like we always had like a junk drawer in our home, with just all kinds of different things. And if you go through that drawer, you probably could find some like gems of things that you could really create or work from.
Yeah,
So
it's funny you say gems because I had the word gold mine in my head. I was like, that sounds like a gold mine.
yeah, it is. It is. It's a gold mine. Those junk drawers that we used to be like, look in the junk drawer to find something, but there could be other things. And by the way, I just remembered what this material is. It's burlap, and I love
Okay.
burlap for a lot of different things. And it's just a pretty. I've never seen burlap in a bow before. So we're kind of at a point of COVID-19 and we're slowly moving out of that, but I think depending on what part of the country you are and even people's comfort levels, we still will probably be more at home than not for at least a little while longer. What advice do you have for creative people or those that don't consider themselves creative, um, uh, about how they can use their creativity to freshen up the look of their homes?
Well, I think one thing that's important about DIY is that there's so much trial and error because a
Hmm.
lot of you're using unique items. Sometimes the materials you're using aren't even produced anymore. Like they might be vintage or antique. Well, antique might be valuable, so maybe you wouldn't use that in a project that you're trial and erroring on. But sometimes there are things that aren't even produced anymore. So you have these old materials and you're figuring it out on your own because maybe nobody else has tried it before. Or if you're following someone else's instructions on how to do it, likely your materials aren't exactly the same. You're also coming up with something that's similar to what they have, but might not be the same, even if it's a different paint color or a different size chain that you use or something like that. So your artwork is always unique when you're creating a DIY project. It's always handmade is the thing, even if you're doing, you know, like I said, copying someone else's, for lack of a better word. It's always your own and it's unique to you. So you'll see imperfections, especially even when you've done it for a long time. There's always going to be imperfections, especially if it's a trial and error piece. But my grandmother had told me when I was younger that it's okay to make mistakes in your artwork because you want evidence that it's handmade, because that's what makes it more valuable. It's not mass produced. It is something that's unique, which is one of the benefits of DIY and upcycling, is that it's going to be unique, it's going to be yours, and you want signs that it was handmade. If there are flaws, that lets people know it wasn't mass produced. So I think give yourself a break when you're doing these things and know that even the best people, the people who are best at it, are still doing a lot of trial and error attempts at working their way through certain projects.
And I think that's important for anyone who attempts these kinds of things, is to understand it's not about perfection. It's about, you know, when you upcycle, it's about taking something and making it totally different and functional for your use. So, you know, if you're looking at a Better Homes and Garden type situation, you know, that's not really the point. The point is to find something and to basically go through a renewal process and to be proud of it from, you know, the attempts that you're making, but not necessarily be like, well, you know, it's got to be perfect. And if you're going after it from that perspective, I think you lose, you know, a lot of the why and the meaning of what you're doing. And then I think the other piece is, if you're involving other people in your home, like your kids and other people, you know, definitely is not going to be perfect. But it can be something that can represent a family project. It can represent, you know, your family brand, or who you all are as a family, as well as, you know, bring that touch, that feel, that look, that feeling into your home. So I think that's a very important point, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, Wendy. And even for those of us that are creative, that may be living at home by ourselves or whatever, you know, again, and some of the things that you've done, I think are just fantastic. Because even when you were panning, I saw a lot of different projects you've done, and I'm like, wow, you know, that she's really got that place together. Got that place together. How long have you been in there? About a year, right?
About a year and a half.
About a year and a half? That
Yeah.
long? Really? Has it been that long? It seemed like you just moved in there like last summer. But, you know, I think you started really doing a lot of the upcycling around that time. So, or at least, you know, sharing a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I do see that. All right.
Well, the thing with recycling too is that if you're using materials you already have, if the project doesn't turn out the way you want, there's nothing lost. You didn't spend money on materials. So like with that cat litter box thing I made, it turned out okay, but if it hadn't, it would have been nothing lost, because it's a piece of furniture I already had that I was probably maybe going to throw out because I already had another entertainment center at that point. So it's like, why not try it and see what happens? But if it's not perfect, you didn't spend any money on it, you know?
Yeah.
And you something that you maybe we're going to throw out anyway, which is how it's environmentally friendly, because it reduces your carbon footprint by reducing waste if you're reusing the things instead of throwing them out.
Definitely. So, Wendy, what do you have coming up soon, artistically or otherwise, and how can people find you?
So my next venture is also related to Wendy Sittner Home. And I had spoken at a DC Bilingual Public Charter School for the Urban Adventure Squad about a year ago related to an art project I had done with plastic straws. I created
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, so I spoke to them that day about the environment and using art to raise awareness about the environment about a year ago. And they've invited me back to talk about actually like found objects and DIY projects. And so that's a group of, I think they're all elementary school children. So I'm thinking about doing that glitter vase with them, but not with the glitter because I'm not sure all the families will appreciate that project in their home.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe doing some sort of collage on a bottle and then having it be like an art project in itself, but also a place where they can store found objects.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But so anyway, yeah, people can find me,
No.
at Wendy Sittner Home on Instagram. And then that's the only place right now where I have information about my home where you could follow that. But if you're interested in seeing my posts about art and nature and travels, that's at Wendy Sittner on Instagram. And on Facebook, my artwork is at Wendy Sittner Studios. I also have a website about my artwork that's wendysittner.com. But the Facebook Wendy Sittner Studios tends to be more updated.
Okay. All right. And we'll share that with the show notes. I just want to thank you, my friend, for sharing a little bit about your DIY projects. Again, I just think that it kind of goes back to no matter where you are on the spectrum with this stay-at-home thing, we're staying at home more. And as we look at, we may not have, like me, I have a few things that I need to have outside work come in, and I want to wait until, things die down before I have other people come in. But it doesn't mean that your house has to, we can create our own pieces that we, instead of buying, though I do believe in supporting artists, and I have been doing that throughout the whole COVID-19 pandemic. But there's a lot that we can do, and there's simple things that Wendy has been able to do. And now the mural thing, that might depend on where you live and what the situation is. But it also tells you that there's a lot that you can do that can share an important message to the world. Even though we're dealing with a pandemic, we still are about, being environmentally friendly. And Earth Day is always a reminder of us to take care of our earthly home. And we can still, as artists and as creatives, make a difference, no matter what the situation is. And you did a wonderful job, and I commend you for all the efforts that you do. And thank you for also sharing a little bit of part of your space with us and some of your projects, and agreeing to do a video and a podcast version of this, because this is really cool and it's kind of moving in the direction that I want to do. But again, thank you so much, Wendy. I can't wait for us to go hiking or something soon when all of this sort of calms down, and spend some time together, because that's something that I've been meaning to do. But at least we got a chance to do this, right?
Yeah. Thank you again for reaching out and giving me the opportunity.
Okay. And you're absolutely welcome. And for those of you who are not familiar, I'm Sharon Burton again. I am the founder of Spark Your Creative Coaching, which is designed to reach people who are interested in enhancing or rediscovering their creative gifts. And you can find out more about me at www.sparkyourcreative.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Spark Your Creative, as well as on Facebook at Spark Your Creative Coaching. And again, thank you, Wendy, for being on here, and thank you all for listening and checking out the video. Take care, and God bless.